Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Wednesday, the 21st of June, and this is another brief video for our class on Ethics 2306 for St. Philip's College. And today, like I said, is Wednesday. Tomorrow, Thursday, we have a case study due. And I wanted you to look at chapters 4, 5, and 6 together as a block. So I know people have been doing their reading. And when we get up to this case, which is the group study problem, there's a lot going on in this case. Again, it's a true story. This happened to me when I was actually working on the student affairs side of the house. And so what that meant was there's both the academic issues and then there's student affairs issues. And so one is typically got to do with like plagiarism or somebody's cheating on a test. These are academic issues that happen in the classroom, and they're typically handled by the professor and an academic dean. But then there's also all these other things, all these violations of a code of student conduct, which happen outside of that. So at like residential colleges, a lot of it's, students that are drinking or they get in a fight or something like that, which is kind of non-academic, but also involves some judicial affairs. And I was in charge of judicial affairs, the student affairs side, for 4 years, handled over 1,000 cases, both formal and informal. And so I had a lot of experience with, again, the ones outside of the classroom. Well, this particular story came across my desk, and the professor and the dean were saying, look, is this an academic case or is this a student affairs case? And what do you think we should do about it? It's an unusual case, but like I said, it was a true story. In the end, I kicked it back over to their side. I said, guys, look, if you think there's a violation here, it's going to be academic. This is your students in a group study for a class project. Yeah, you guys are going to have to deal with this one. And in the end, what happened was the dean said, look, I'm going to give it back to the professor, let him handle it, and do whatever he thinks is appropriate. So in the end, we had to come up, the first threshold question was, who's going to handle this case? And what's it really a violation of? We had to kind of sort that out, given the unique nature of the story. And that, there's money, but it didn't really change hands. It's an attempt, but did it influence? In the end, I said, look, the professor's got to decide if he thinks there was a violation, and if so, then he's got to make a decision about what to do about it. In fact, that's one of the more interesting things about this particular case study, which is if you think something went wrong, the students did something wrong, what is it? Why do you think that? And what do you think the appropriate sanction should be? That was one of the real big sticking points for the professor. So let me know what you think, and we'll do it like this. This is due tomorrow, the 22nd. Turn it in, and the next day, Friday, I'll let you know what the professor decided. A couple of the first cases we've studied, you knew ahead of time what the outcome was. Like with the Jenny Lake case, you knew from the very beginning. And interestingly enough, when I do that case online, and the students know the outcome, they all side with Jenny. Isn't that interesting? And support her decision. When I teach it like in a classroom face-to-face, and the students don't know the outcome ahead of time, they almost always line up against her and say, no, that wasn't the right decision. So there's something about knowing the outcome which can influence our decision-making. And so in this case, actually for the next two, the group study case and the student's cartoon, all you've got is the information leading up to the decision point. You don't know the outcome ahead of time. And then I'll tell you, in terms of this one, the group study problem, I'll tell you the next day, Friday. And for the student's cartoon, I'll also leave that one until after everybody turns it in on Sunday night. Monday, I'll come back and tell you what actually happened in that case. Again, a fascinating and difficult case, the student's cartoon. So anyway, make sure you're up on your reading and approach these things. Again, answer the questions, because the questions are going to involve not just your decision, is it right or wrong, good or bad, But where does that come from? What are you basing this on? We'd been looking at objectivism and relativism. But now you'll see with 4, 5, 6, we're talking about consequentialism, deciding what's right or wrong, good and bad, based on the outcomes, or non-consequentialism, which is saying, no, look, we're not even going to. We know there are consequences. We know they matter, but we're not going to use them to determine right and wrong, good and bad. We're going to be applying objective rules and principles to these cases. That's got its own set of problems, but that's the big distinction here about the approaches between non-consequentialism and consequentialism. And remember, consequentialism is just looking at the consequences and using them to determine what's right and wrong, good or bad. So we'll do a little bit more about it. I'm going to post some YouTube videos, which I have found, which I think are really quite good and helpful about this type of this distinction between types of moral theories which are consequentialist in nature and other types which are not. And so I'll load those up to the modules as well. If you got any questions, let me know. I had a few questions just about the calendar, correlating the assignments with the discussions. So I sent out that updated calendar just to make sure we're real clear. Because again, you got to remember, guys, 2 weeks from today, this class is going to be over. So we've only got 2 weeks to go. A couple more of the discussion questions, the final exam, which is posted. So you might want to pull that up and start looking at it now. And keep that in mind as you're going along. Because you got 2 weeks to complete that thing, including the essay for it. But if you got other questions about where we are, what's going on, the calendar, the final, anything at all, let me know. But again, so far people have been doing quite well. And like I said, for these next 2 discussions, you're going to have to give me your answer first before you find out what really happened the next day. So get them in by tomorrow, midnight, the 22nd, and look forward to reading your contributions and participating in the dialogue. So for now, take care. Bye-bye.